What's up? What's up? What's up? Tested 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's your boy, Mr. Cosmic. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Cosmic Training Academy. And I really need to lift this up a little bit higher. I think that will work better. I'll bring this up. So just bear with me for a second. And let me see if this will work. Yeah, that's a little better. I think, yeah, we might do better like this, y'all. Oh yeah, oh yeah. There we go. Sorry, I should have probably checked that before. But okay, well, we got it now, so not gonna worry about it. Okay, what's up, guys? Welcome. If it's your first time coming, welcome to the Cosmic Training Academy. And if this is you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you. First of all, I just really wanted to talk about the story of life as a cosmic training, how I grew from a young kid hustling, in trying to come up to who I am and where I am right now, which is a digital nomad traveling around the globe, living in different countries and stuff like that. Basically, I just want to tell that story because what happened was. One of the ladies who's like I'm very fond of as a person, as a professional, as a woman of stature, a woman of color, powerful lady. She recently said on one of her posts that what's there's nothing more important than telling people the story, your story. And I tell a little bit, but I really never really got into it. So what I'm going to do is try to explain to you how. There's a lot of people say, well, how did you get from point A to point Z? And so I'm going to briefly explain that, use this video to explain exactly how I got to where I am. Basically, it started off, I grew up in uh, middle class to lower class America. It was times in my life as a child I was in, you know, you know, where we had to use, food stamps, assistance to get by in life, and you know, and also there was times in my life as a young man where eventually we were middle class. So. Never knew my father or anything like that. Did have a stepfather, but didn't really come to that until I was probably in my teens. But before that, yeah, I lived bounced around from auntie to auntie house and stuff like that, which kind of gave me that initial footing of not having stability. So where a lot of people stay in one place, I realize it comes from coming from having a life of stability. For most of my formative years as a child, I was never stable. So basically, I've never felt at home. So that's one of the key indicators for people who try to figure out, like, why does a person want to travel? Well, why do they want to stay? But sometimes people might be military brats. They might have come from a background where moving around, or maybe they came from a stagnated background and they were so tired of sitting still and never seeing nothing that they were that one out of hundreds of thousands who decided that I got to get out of here. I got to do something different with my life. I don't want this kind of life. And, those are the unique people that people usually look at them like, So at any rate, that's how it was. By the time I probably turned, um, what grade? Probably sixth or seventh grade. Sixth grade, seventh grade. It was a teacher named Miss Lovelace, and I remember that I asked one of my guardians, a guardian at the time, could I have for the end of the year party? Could I have a couple of dollars, because every kid had to bring either a bag of candy or something like that, or they had to bring $2. Well, at the time, the guardian that I was with didn't have the $2, or for whatever reason couldn't give it to me. So, I had to sit out for the event with the teacher, and the teacher said that she didn't understand why I couldn't bring some candy or $2. And I said, I didn't have it. She said, you don't have $2. I said, I don't have it. I said, I'm where am I where as a kid can I get money from that? I don't, she said, and so Miss Lovelace, and I never forget her. I appreciate you if you're out there, Miss Lovelace. I know this probably won't reach you, but I just want to know that she was one of the most important people in my life. And Miss Lovelace basically said, I tell you what, you come to my class every day for the next week before the party, and you straighten out my desk after school, and you clean up before you catch the bus, and any trash, take it out of the desk, straighten out all the desk, and I'll give you the two. I'll give actually what it was. She said, I'll give you $5, $1 a day. For me, that meant the world because it meant somebody cared about me. It meant somebody saw my that I would. And when I said, "Oh, okay, okay," and of course, I came every day, and then at the end of the week, she gave me the $5. And so I gave her, $2, and she gave me back the three, and that's what it was. And for that kind of ignited that kind of desire in me to know that, oh, it's possible. And so what happened was, unfortunately, probably for Miss Lovely, she didn't realize it. And so I never stopped coming. I never stopped coming to the class cleaning up because I'm like, I need to make the money. And so as a kid, I didn't know. I just thought it was an opportunity. I was like, oh, she must need it, not understanding conceptually as a child that she was only doing that just for that situation. I don't know how bad she needed that $5, but I guess she couldn't find it in her heart to tell me she need me to come no more. And so I came every day after school, every single like it was a part-time job. And she gave me $5 to the end of the year every week. So I'll never forget Miss Lovelace for that. That started my career though, as far as understanding what hustle with a dollar was all about. And so after that, I eventually went to live with my biological mother, and at that time, it was a hustler's mentality. It was a dog eat dog world. It was you kill, you eat what you kill kind of environment. That there's no free rides to the bank kind of environment. That we ain't giving you nothing free kind of environment. That you got to get your hustle on kind of environment. And so obviously by about 13, I started to realize that. I had to get my hustle on because, if I wanted some new glasses, I had to get it. If I wanted to get a new coat for the wintertime, I had to buy it. It wasn't, possible for my family to get it for me or my parents. It's just that they wanted to teach me that the world don't owe you nothing. And once you get that out of your mind, that society, that the world owes you something, then you can finally get to what you need to be getting to, which is getting on your grind and getting what you need to have because it's true. The world doesn't owe you. I don't care what your mommy and daddy did for you. I don't care. The world don't owe you nothing. And I think that was imputed so strongly. And then my subconscious, it was two things that was kind of impressed upon me as a young man. One was that don't ever, ever, ever be a follower. Don't ever be a follower. Be a leader. And two, that the world is not going to give you nothing for free. You got to go get it. If they gave it to you for free, it's going to cost you double. Trust me. So you don't even want it for free if somebody offering. Don't even take it. Work for everything you want, work for everything you need. So that's how it is. So what I realized when I was probably in the eighth grade is that since it wasn't going to come for free, and I realized that people was I was in a suburban area. I had never lived in that. I hadn't really experienced it over a long period of time. I was experiencing it over 1 year or maybe a summer and see the suburban area like that. But at this time now, this was going into those years that was as going into preteen and young adulthood. And so I'm talking 12 years old, going into 13, 12 years old. So what I started doing is I realized that very few of the kids in the neighborhood were cutting their grass for their for their house. So I realized that I didn't have a lawnmower. So what I did is I went and I got some index cards from the local, what we would call White Hen Pantry or 7-Eleven. you know. And what I did was I went around and I passed the index cards out to all the people who I saw or I remember. If I seen a man out cutting his grass, I try to remember where he lived at and go give him a card because I knew that fathers or husbands, they didn't really want to be out there. Some of them want to do it for exercise, but some of them just didn't want to be out there cutting no grass. They would rather be relaxing on their weekends. But there was a chore that they had to do, and I realized that those men didn't feel like doing it all the time. And if, and I need to be the person to make sure that they had a person they can call who will come do it. And so, with that in mind, I made sure that I gave every person that I knew who was a father, who probably didn't have no sons or nobody who would cut the grass, and I will give them cards. And what happened was they started calling my mother's house, and once she realized it was all about money, that's the only reason why she allowed those phone calls to come through because she didn't even allow you to have phone calls. She was a staunch proponent on if you don't own it, you don't have entitlement to use it. And I appreciate that because she basically wanted to teach me rules that, you don't have rights to use things that don't belong to you. If you didn't pay for them, you didn't pay for that object, or you don't pay for that service, you don't have any rights to that service or to that object. Um, and so I appreciate that being taught to me. By the same token, I didn't, although there was a lawnmower in our household at that time, it wasn't my lawnmower. And another rule that was taught to me when I started actually using those same cards and going to those same people when the snow started falling, because we were in the Midwest, I would go shovel those people's driveway. I would walk the neighborhood to the wee hours of the night. If it was still snowing at 10 o'clock, I'd still be walking. If it was snowing at 12 o'clock, I'd still be walking. So people would probably see me all the time walking with a shovel, shoveling driveways. If I seen lights on at the house, I'd ring the doorbell, step back, wave. You need to shove driveway. Shove. Some of them would say, "Go ahead, yeah, go ahead, yeah." And some of people were like, "No, no, I'm good. Okay, no problem." But that was how I bought winter coat for that year. That was how I got shoes and stuff for that year, and I just kept going with that same mentality. Till eventually I got my first job working at outdoor music theater parks, and then I worked at Burger King, and then I eventually worked my way to a mall where I got into the Cinnabon, and I also worked at a shoe store. Um, the shoe store kind of carried me through the rest of my high school time because from that time I was leaving high school early to go work at the shoe store. And eventually, even at I was 15 and 16 years old, I was actually became assistant manager and key holder at that shoe store. Shout out to Journeys and Hardy Shoes. Um, and so that taught me responsibility to be able to open stores, count down cash registers, and so on and so forth. And so again, that's when I started going into that. Eventually, when I graduated high school, because I didn't do anything in high school but try to get money. I wasn't hanging out at football games. I wasn't going to prom. I wasn't doing none of that stuff. If it didn't have nothing to do with money, I occasionally I go to people's houses, socialize in my neighborhood and stuff like that. But if it wasn't about money, I wasn't interested in it because I knew that when I turned 18, I had no place to go. Again, I grew up in an environment that was nobody owes anybody anything, and you need to go fend for yourself. So I knew once I turned 18, I had to go out here and get it. I had to go get a crib. I had to go get out. So in my mind, only thing I can focus on while I'm in school, while I'm walking, while I'm talking, while I'm at work, is how much money do I need in order to get out on my own. And so that mentality carried on with me. And eventually, I graduated high school and I went to the military. Um, Fortunately, I was able to foresee that military to have a backup option, so I went to the Air Force. I stayed there for a few years. They had at the time they were having a program that if you wanted to get out for college, they would let you out and let you go to school. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Got the table shaking. They would let you go out and go to school. And I got out on the go to school program and began going to college. I realized shortly when I was in college that who's how I was going to pay for an apartment. Once after my first year, freshman year, I realized is where was the apartment money going to come from? It hadn't really dawned on me that I wasn't going to have no place to go. I didn't have no money for no apartment. I didn't have nothing. So once I got out for my first freshman year, I had to start working. So I'm a telemarketing. Uh, I was, hustling. I would go out and go buy wholesale purses and bags and belts and stuff and bring them back. Then I was cutting hair because I was cutting hair in. I was cutting. Actually, I started cutting hair as a kid when I was probably about 12 years old. Because nobody took me to a barber shop. So again, like I said, I had to learn how to cut my own hair because that was what it was. It was either you go. I think my stepfather probably would have gave me a bald head. I think, but I wanted to cut my own hair. And I wanted to be fresh. So I eventually got some clippers, and I started cutting my own hair. And eventually, I got good enough where my friends started acting, associates started acting. Sometimes the kids that played on the little league baseball team for my little brother, they would come by and get their hair cut. So it became a whole thing that I carried on into the Air Force. And one of my biggest businesses on the weekends was cutting hair. They didn't like that in the Air Force. And they didn't like the fact that I would be going all the way. I would be going to New York buying clothes. I actually used to buy from Dapper Dan. Shout out Dapper Dan. And I used to buy from the Chinese market and stuff like that. So that was a time of Fubu and everything was out. Carl Kanai, shout out to Carl Kanai, where I used to go out and buy all of that stuff, wholesale, knockoffs, and all that stuff, and bring them back to the base and sell. And because people didn't feel like going to New York, and all the stuff on the base was everybody looked the same, so they appreciated when you come back with some sweaters with Timberland on a shirt or some Carl Kanai jeans, and and so people loved that, and that's how I made money. I cut hair, sell sweatshirts and hats and stuff like that. Obviously, it didn't go down too well, so it's another reason why I felt like it was a stifling environment that was all about controlling the narrative of where you went as a human being, and I wanted to expand. I was always had an expansive mindset, so that's another thing. So go this down a little bit, yeah, and so what happened was as I was in college, like I said, I was telemarketing. I actually even started working as in the nightlife, the clubs, and everything like that. And I also became a janitor working for the university. I can't tell you that probably didn't last long, which I really feel bad about that one, but that's neither here nor there. I realized I couldn't stay in school for too long because I just had to make more money. And a lot of the things that I could have gotten, like financial aid, is so crazy because one of the things I learned is that there was so many things available to me. But because I didn't know who to ask, and I didn't even know which questions to ask, I was trying to figure out how the hell was these other kids going to school. I just assumed that their parents was giving them all the money paying for their school. Um, and I had to leave school because there was no way that I can go to school and go to work and pay for all of this stuff and pay for school. It just the numbers wasn't adding up, and I just didn't have enough mentorship and stuff. So I left school at that time, and eventually I opened up. Eventually, probably about 24, 25, I opened up a barber shop, a tattoo shop, and the good thing about that was it taught me how to open my first brick and mortar business, how to start off from zero. I didn't have anything. I think I had about $800 at the time. I was selling shoes downtown, women's shoes at a women's shoe store downtown, and so a friend of mine said, "Why are you not cutting hair?" And another friend said, "Why are you not cutting hair? You need some money to open up a shop. It's an empty shop." Eventually put it all together, opened up my first barbershop at 24. My second one I opened up probably, I was in probably 28 or something like that, in a different state. And then, all together, I probably was involved in about three or four or five shops. That was around time when the real estate market was just getting really crazy, and I always dreamed and fancied myself being part of the real estate market. Um, so I had an opportunity to, and I bought my first duplex probably at about 30 years old, maybe something like that. Then I rolled that into my, I bought a what was it next? A townhouse. Then after the townhouse, I went to partnership and bought a house together. After working on that for a year or so, rented that out, then got a condo. And then, so I was in the condo, the house was rented out, the duplex was rented out. Um, it eventually rose to about four or five properties in no time. Um, One of the properties eventually crashed on me, and the market crashed. And I got to tell you that I lost everything at that time, especially without having mentors and without having experience. Um, I lost it all. So that put me back at square one when the market crashed. So I made it up in my mind a couple of things that really changed my mind. Number one, over leveraging yourself. You got to be careful. Number two, always, if you are using leverage and you are making money, take some of the money out no matter what and put it away so that you can have a way to build yourself back up from, you don't ever have to start back at zero. So if you're using leverage, please take some money out and put it as a stash to the side. At that time, I didn't understand I was all money in. Every dollar I got, I put it back in the next property. I put it in the working on properties. I didn't understand I need to have something put aside if everything crashed. I didn't understand. I know that now, but I didn't understand that then. Um, uh, and so then I realized that too, that's when my mind started shifting from a person who wanted to have a lot of things to a person who just wanted to have a few things that were nice. Um, I didn't care that much about houses anymore. It changed my perspective. I mean, I love real estate, but I wasn't going to sleep in the houses, working on the floor, trying to work on getting the house back together so I can rent it out. All of them, my mind shifted. Two, as I thought that the game was rigged, in the sense that I felt like, why were so many people working so hard to have so much stuff that they could lose it all just because the system crashed, or just because the banks did something wrong, and so on and so forth. So that changed my perspective, and I just wanted to think about sustainable housing that was affordable for everybody. That became the thing that I only cared about at that time. At any rate, I went on to to I decided to I want to see other states and stuff like that. So I started traveling to different states and went to Vegas, became a limo driver, went to San Diego, did security, went to the LA area, surrounding LA metro area. I did security, upscale security out there. And uh, and that's what that kind of have. And I started saving money, and I actually bought 5 acres in California to try to build a sustainable community for veterans. It didn't work out because I didn't have enough money, and I didn't even know the right people that I can go build a well. Had I known the right people, and I had so many things have to do with knowing people and relationships, so I didn't build a lot of relationships. I was too busy working, doing my degree, trying to finish my bachelor's because I was saying, "Hey, I don't want to be back at the same situation at square one and not have any education." My dream was to finish my education. That's what I wanted to do. So by the time I left LA, I had finished a bachelor's degree, and I had bought some 5 acres in the California desert area. And I took a year off. Me and a partner that I was with at the time, we took a year off and just traveled. We drove across the country, and that's when I first had that real experience of staying in a car for a long extended period of time. I'd actually had built out the back. Anybody who actually seen this video who know me from California know I built a bed in the back of my Honda Element at the time. And if you actually go see my other channel, I show my Honda Element and how I built it out. So my channel, Mr. Cosmic. Um, and I built it out. And that's we actually traveled across the country, and it had like basically a full size bed in the back, and it was cool, man. And it just really changed my perspective. Let me know how much I didn't really need to to enjoy life, and that so many things were just holding me down. And I became a slave to all of the things, all the materialism, all the junk and all the trash that I thought I need, that was really to boost my ego and make me feel important, make me feel like I was somebody. I wanted to shine, I wanted to be sharp, I wanted everybody to, if you saw me, I was riding this kind of way, I was looking this kind of way. And there's nothing wrong with having pride in who you are. The problem is when your pride gets to the point where you're spending more of your time, money, and energy on the external factors in order to make people look at you in a certain kind of way and give yourself an image. I think that really works when you're in a business. That image really plays a big, but maybe, hey, you know, it's up to the individual to make the decision as to how far to go with that. There's levels to everything. So, like I said, we traveled the world. We started traveling the world. We got on a plane. We went to Greece. We went to Italy. We went to Spain. We went to Monaco. We went to Paris. So we started traveling the Southern Europe part, and we was gone for about altogether. Between traveling on the road, we were going for about a year. We came back, and I was trying to think what was going to be the next thing I was going to do. So what I did was I actually got went to the academy and worked in the juvenile jail system. Strangely enough, but that was the job that was offered in the area that I was in, and I worked in that for a little while. Obviously, to say that the system was broken would that's to say the least. So much more I could say about that, but that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother. You have to meet me someplace to have that conversation. But the reality is that um, I realized that the system was broken, and it was designed to keep those young, predominantly men of color, young men of color, in there. And obviously, the people who controlled and who wasn't, who was part of these companies and stuff like that, for-profit companies who were typed in with the judges and everything like that. Um, they were not men of color. I just say that. And so the whole juvenile jail, was filled with a bunch of kids who were just, and they didn't really have no whole lot of problems that I could see. Some of them obviously were disturbed, but other ones, they just were. Anyway, so that's what I did. After I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, I started an expediting business. So a lot of people, I realized that after probably 2000 and man, maybe 2017, 18, 19, I was in it with 2015. Um, for a couple of years to 2017, 18. I was doing 2017. I was doing expediting, which is where you get a van or truck and you pick up item, and it needs to be taken as quickly as possible to another destination, usually in a different state or several states over. Sometimes it could be from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. You could drive all states. It might be from Texas all the way to Maine. But they want an expediter will get it in their truck or van and take it straight as fast as they possibly can take it. Um, it's usually an item that is probably doesn't make sense to put on a plane, so it makes more sense to probably put it in a truck and take it. And also, usually it's by itself, so there is no other customer between that truck and on that truck is usually that item or whatever items for that customer only, and it's going from point A to point B, and they pay at that time. We're paying pretty good for that. So it was a cool business. I ended up hiring employees. Um, I don't really want to say too much about that, but one thing about employees will be employees. That's all I got to say. You got to really want to deal with that. I realized with that experience that I didn't really want to deal with too many more employees and stuff like that. So anyway, I also started working in the Department of Children and Family Services. Again, I saw a system that was broken, and I decided that with my partner, we worked in the foster care. Now I can have hands-on. I felt like with hands-on with a kid, I can make a difference in their life. So I worked in foster care for a couple of years with kids and stuff like that, helping them out. I feel like that's where I can make the most difference. And I feel like I really did. And I feel like the difference was also made with me. So if you guys are out there and you're thinking about making a difference, man, foster care, And I don't think there's any more reward, especially a person like me who really didn't, have that going on. So I was happy to and excited to get involved in that. And the kids really, especially if you get them as babies, man, it's special. Um, After that, I got into property management, and property management. Well, in reality, is I was working with that part time in California, so I got all of these various experiences. So I worked in property management for about 5 years, but during that time, this is where I made another turn. In property management, I realized I don't really want to do this forever. And what do I really want to do? Well, let me finish a master's degree. So here we go again. I went, I finished a master's degree while I was in property management, and then I started actually trading. Now, I know you hear it a lot, but it's really true. I started trading, and I got a membership to Audible, and I started listening to books, because I had a lot of time where I was walking. So I was able to put an earpiece and I would listen to books. It went from 10 books to 20 to 50 to 100 and 120. And next thing you know, I was just listening to a book a day or a book every 2, 3 days. And it took over. It just took over me. I became obsessed with these listening to these books and how many books I could listen to and different stories and stuff like that. And I started realizing many of the stories just kept meshing. Yeah, when it comes down to a system, one thing you have to know is that there isn't really a whole lot of different ways. People talk about all the different ways to approach the system, but there is a systematic approach that can make you go to the next level. And unless you know that, you won't really go deal with that. So once I started understanding the systematic approach, I started using that. Excuse me. I started using that approach, and I also started trading. So I started diverting my income to a whole life insurance policy. I started funding it. I started funding my business bank accounts, and I started just getting rid of divesting myself of all my material possessions. So that way, I didn't have to deal with any of that stuff. And I just, because I didn't really have a lot, and after losing everything, I really didn't want to have a lot anymore either, because I realized traveling light is probably the best approach to life. You can come and go anytime you feel like, and do whatever you want whenever you want to. So with that trading, and once I got my accounts to a certain number, and I was still losing in trading for a while, for at least about 4 years. I just kept losing, but I just started losing less. And my approach went from more like a gambling approach to more like a strategic approach. Um, Let me see. So I started building up a staffing service concept, and trading. And so eventually I left the property management to work on my staffing service company. And but during that time, I was also delivering products. Doing I was renting my car out on those rental car services, making money, paying the car note, paying the insurance off the rentals. So yes, it's true that that business does make money, but do you really want to deal with it? Also, you got to not care nothing about the cars that you have. And at the time, I was using that car, so you got to always. And I talk about it in another video if you check it out on the channel, with the car rental business and stuff like that. So I was doing that, and then still trading, and eventually I got to a point where my numbers all got to a point where I realized my lease was coming to an end, and I said, "That's it. I'm done." I even worked on my way out the door. I worked in the gym, fitness gym, just as a part-time job that kind of turned into a full-time job. But I was doing that just to keep myself busy, because I knew I was on my way out the door. And I did that. And what I did was, with the wholesale insurance, life insurance policy, with trading, and with the mindset that I didn't need a lot, and with the traveler's mindset, I was able to start saying, you know what? I am start researching different countries and places in the world to live where it was affordable lifestyle, affordable living, but I didn't have to compromise the medical aspects. I didn't have to compromise the quality of life. I didn't have to compromise safety. And I realized that, you know what, it's really out here. I mean, if you can, you don't really have to even give up creature comforts for the most part, depending upon where you are financially. But for the most part, I would say that I'm much more comfortable overseas. Right now, like I said, I'm in beautiful Thailand, and I think if you know anybody who travels, they're going to tell you Thailand is going to be usually on the top of their list. Number one is it's hard to beat $400 or $500 a month for all in apartment, swimming pools, gym, everything included, internet, everything. It's hard to beat it, man. And just the quality of life where people have respect for themselves and people respect other people in general. And usually, when you say hi to people, most people speak back to you. It's hard to beat that, man. I grew up in the Midwest. You were supposed to speak back to people when people spoke to you, but the world ain't like that hardly anymore, except in other places where people still have that kind of general respect for humanity. And growing up in the West, a lot of people will have you to believe that no matter how much hell you catch in the West, that you're better off catching hell in the West. That the police kill you, and you go to prison, you go to jail, you get into the prison pipeline, bad education and prison pipeline, and it's just minorities who's suffering, and and all of that stuff. And I mean minorities, I mean people financially disposed to a lower income bracket. So anybody who's in that situation is a minority. And all those people usually end up in a bad situation, low income, or living in a poverty, below poverty. Well, the reality is a few skills would change that, and the willingness to change your environment could change your entire life. So now I do trading. I'm an options trader. If you look in this channel, I probably do that. And and I don't do risky options trade. I do 85, 90% probability. Um, and just the higher probability trading style. And so that's what it is, guys. I wanted to bring that story to you. Now I just kind of travel around the world. I go to different countries. I stay there for a while, move to the next country, and right now I'm in a place in my life where just establishing those key places that I actually want to be in, that I want to keep going back to. And that's what I'm doing right now. And while at the same time, while I'm trading, and at the same time, just working on different skills that can help me continue to be out here making money and living a life. So that is the story. And guys, I'm here if you need mentorship. Send me a message, Cosmic Training Academy at gmail.com. We can get on a call. Right now, I'm doing calls, and I probably would be doing calls like, a 30-minute call for $50 or something like that. Just go on there, and we'll set up a date on Calendly. And, if you want to talk about anything about this business, about other business, entrepreneurship, bank accounts, insurance, making journals, whatever, just call me, and check it out in the descriptions below. And hey, I'm here, Mr. Cosmic. This is the Cosmic Training Academy. I wish y'all all the best, man. I'll see y'all later, man. Peace.